We're live on, by the way.
Oh, that's a delicious cocktail.
What do you got going on there?
I got a lot going on. I got vodka, I got club, I got cranberry, I got 7-Up, I got lime.
Jesus.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Wake me up a little bit.
I have my favorite brown nectar on the planet. It's not always available. Michter's American whiskey.
Oh, I've seen that in stores by me here.
It's technically not a bourbon because of the way they make it. But when you taste it, you're like, it's just bourbon. And it's my favorite. It is just wonderful.
There's no year on it. It's just.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. Take my word for it. It's a little more expensive. I paid $50 for it. Usually it's a little less than that. I think with inflation and everything going on, prices are up.
Yeah.
And it's not always available. And even if you look on a website, they even say it's like limited release. It's not, it's not rare, but it's not one of their bigger releases. But yeah, Michter's, it's a blue label. So their bourbon is, I think, a brown label. Their rye is a green label. And then the American whiskey is a blue label. And their American whiskey is...
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I don't care if it means I'm not a pure bourbon drinker. I don't care. It's fabulous. It is fabulous. My favorite whiskey, period.
Are you a Blanton's guy?
I love Blanton's.
That's hard to get now. That's like, and then they price you out of it too now. It's like,
I know.
Crazy.
Last time I bought it, it was $65, I think. What is it now?
It's like $80 now.
Damn. See, I'm not going there.
My brother, I agree. Like my brother,
it ain't that good.
Now I refuse to drink it. Like,
yeah. No, because to me with bourbon, like scotches, I get it. They're coming overseas. It's a little more there's tariffs. There's all this kind of garbage. But bourbon is made right here. Let's be honest. There's more than enough really good bourbons that are under $50. It's just not necessary for me.
100%.
There's a million of them. And my second favorite bourbon, period, is probably a $27, $28 right now, and that's
Four Roses.
No, I'm not a huge Four Roses guy. Wild Turkey 101.
Yeah. Oh, that's
not the regular Wild Turkey. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's fantastic. It is fantastic, and I think it is ridiculously smooth for 100 proof bourbon. It's really, really good stuff. I stayed away from it for so long just because of the name Wild Turkey.
That gets you in trouble, too.
It can. That second one, the second time through, you're like, oh, hey, I'm a little sideways here.
What's up, Michael? How are you, sir?
Commenting in. Yes. Mike Dean from Dean Dome Sports. Obviously listening live to the podcast so that he'll have some good material on his podcast, of course. All right, let's do it. Oh, hey, listen, I got breaking news with Jay Wright. I don't know how breaking it is. I just heard it today for the first time.
It's about 20 hours old, but I think that's considered
it's breaking enough since we're a once a week show. Yeah. Then Mike Dean will talk about it later. Then we got top QBs, top wide receivers, top defenders. And I actually was going to name a couple offensive linemen that I want to throw out there because I think that's always so important.
Pete, you have carte blanche. I
could go wherever I want with this. Thank you. And what I did too is I have like 3 players that I love, and then one that I'm like, I don't want to touch this guy. That's kind of how I did it. Instead of like my 5
I think I know who that is already.
You very well may. So
I got Yankees NBA playoffs a little bit.
Yes.
We'll throw in Deebo Samuel, I guess, in there for a second.
We could do that. Yeah, sure. That absolutely makes sense.
And then I got some 63s for you.
You know what? We'll do the Deebo right after we do
the draft.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, because it's interesting. It's weird, but interesting. But it's it's funny from what I understand. What I'm hearing is it's part of what we talked about with him. Frankly, what we liked about him. So I don't know how much he likes what we like about him. So I think that's part of the problem. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Yep.
All right, let's get this thing. I'm pressing record. Scotty, you heard me. It's official. The light is on.
You're learning after about 15, 16 months of this.
What did I tell you? Like, experience is the greatest teacher, right? Screw up enough times and you start to get things right. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bump and Run. I am the ever-talkative Pete Collison. I'm joined, as always, by my friend Scott Bracey. What's going on, dude?
Cheers. Good afternoon, sir.
Rumor has it on the Twitterverse there that I kind of overwhelm sometimes, and I can't even really argue with that on here sometimes. I get going and I'm passionate about what we're talking about. And also sometimes I just feel the need to like explain myself because I'll say something and you know how the world takes things. They take it the way they want to hear it. Okay. So then I already sense that coming. I have a sixth sense about people taking things the wrong way. So then I feel like, let me explain it ahead of time. So the stupid people can totally understand what I'm talking about.
Let's not insult
I'm not saying anybody specific. Nobody specific.
Let's not do that.
No, of course.
Yeah, you were just on one last week, and you were the Don LaGreca of the Bump and Run podcast. It was about 70% Peter, and some would argue more. But hey, listen, it's a new week. Yeah. Listen, you made a lot of good points.
And I'll give you the business a little bit. Here's why. And maybe it's my fault because I talk so much and I make so many points. Then you go, yeah, I totally agree. And then we're kind of stuck with, yeah, I totally agree.
Well, listen, that's usually the cue to shut the fuck up, and you didn't do that. So I was kind of let you bury your own grave last week.
It's very difficult to get me to shut up, dude. I mean, it's just hard. Sometimes I just have to ask somebody, am I talking too much? Maybe we need to come up with like a hand signal, like that means keep going.
You know, like when you're in the hospital, like God forbid, like you need like a morphine drip. And it's like once in a blue moon. That might be you. Button. That might be you with the fucking bourbon.
We need a kill button or something. Yeah. I got the control over the mute, both of our mics, the mute. Maybe you should have the control over the mute. And be like, all right, we're gonna give Pete a little break now. He's gonna drink a little water.
Go take a lap around the building.
Let Scotty talk for a minute. So I'll try to do better. I make no promises though. It's just like I go off. I go off sometimes.
The show is not scripted. That's what makes it great.
So we have a lot to get to today. This will be one of our 2 pre-draft specials where we will break down and kind of go over players we like at given positions. I even have one player in each position that I think, at least for like a top 10 pick, or top 20 pick, I'd probably stay away from. Some even further than that, which I think will be fun. And I have a surprise player at the quarterback position. No way. But before we get to that stuff, kind of have some quasi breaking news. We'll call it more surprising news as far as I'm concerned. Jay Wright, head coach of the 2-time national champion Villanova Wildcats for Final Fours, has retired. Surprisingly has retired. What do you think?
Bidding farewell. 60 years old.
Good looking 60 years, by the way.
He is
handsome devil.
He is a George Clooney figure. I'm not gonna lie to you, a tad surprising.
Yeah.
No fanfare, no goodbye tour, as Coach K handled that this year.
Which I love, by the way.
I love it as well.
But a lot of respect for that.
And maybe he knew last year he was going to hang it up, and he didn't want to, step on anybody's toes, and it was going to be Coach K all the way anyway. So it kind of worked out for him. Listen, I'm very, very shocked. He's got a great team coming back. He's got a great recruiting class coming in. We were singing his praises all of the last couple of weeks. But you know what? Maybe he wants to do other things, hanging with his wife and family, and God bless him. So.
Yeah, truth be told, the guy's made a lot of money. He's very comfortable. He's done a great job. What I like more than anything about Jay Wright is that, like Frank Sinatra would say, he did it his way.
Yeah.
He didn't go the route, and never deviated. He didn't go the route of the one and done players, at least not very often, if ever. He really was about bringing in guys that were more like 3-4-star players and developing them and trying to teach them to be part of something bigger than themselves. That's actually a quote from him, leading into the Final Four this year. Like, how did you do it? And, you really don't have these 5-star recruits. And this is how you bring them in as freshmen. You keep them around for 3-4 years. And it becomes more important to them. The school, the team matters when you're there that long. This is the kind of stuff we've been talking about like incessantly this year. What we don't like about college basketball. It's hard to get attached to teams because we don't know the players. They're just not around long enough, especially the good players. Those are the ones you tend to know the most, the great players. And, they're not there long enough. Even Coach K got sucked up in the one and doneer. Like he looked at it and said, I can't compete on this level without these, one-time freshman players. And guess what? Jay Wright did. Jay Wright was able to do that. So I give him a lot of credit for that. I am curious. I guess we'll hear from him at some point, I guess. But I'm I would love to know if the NIL stuff has anything to do with it. I'm sure he's been around for a long time. He's been in coaching for 38 years at the collegiate level. So he's been around a long time, and that's a massive change. That's a very different way of working with the NIL. And it may be just a factor. I don't think it's everything, but it could be a factor of saying, you know what? I'm good. I'm a married man, wife. I got, 30 good years left in my life. I could enjoy them without any stress, without any problems. Listen, the glory of being a head coach, it's something else. But boy, it's tough. On the road, when you're not playing in games on the road, you're recruiting on the road, you're constantly working. It's a stressful ass job. These guys love it, but it can get to you. So maybe he just had enough. And if that's the case and he was able to walk away because financially he's set, God bless him. Good for him. I'm happy for him. I certainly hope it's not health related. But whatever the reason is, he's able to do it, and I'm happy for him. So it sucks for us. That's all.
So you know who's probably pissed off right now?
Who?
Kevin Willard.
And why do you say that?
Ex-Seton Hall coach. Because I feel like he's had some teams that were right there with him, and they won a Big East tournament. They finished second or third in the conference a couple times. And I think with Jay Wright stepping down, I think he could have kind of swooped right in, and then he takes the Maryland job, and see you later.
Yeah. And now they got a new coach, the kid from
Shaheem Holloway.
Yeah, that played for Seton Hall. Now he's their head coach after doing a great job with St. Peter's. So yeah, hell of a story. I was a little taken aback by this one. It doesn't happen often. Usually these guys, when you've gone that far, you kind of do it more or less for life. So
and you kind of have an idea. All right, he's a year or two away. Like Boeheim's any minute now. I
mean, he's announced before. Boeheim has announced before that he was retiring and then changed his mind for Christ's sake. I don't think it's hard.
He's put a cap on it and then he's taking the cap off.
I mean, even Krzyzewski, I think it was 2 days after they lost in the Final Four. It was like, is he really retired? Maybe he's not retired. Maybe he'll change his mind. Dude, it's been 2 days. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It is interesting. He loves Villanova. From what I understand, he's staying on in some kind of advisory role. I'm sure it's a lot less stressful role. It'll probably be a pretty well-paying role. He's a different character, and I have a lot of respect for that. He never had any aspirations of going to the NBA. He never had any aspirations of going anywhere else. He loved Villanova, did an amazing job. Villanova was a nice program. They had won the one national championship back in the day. But when he got there, and ever since, they're perennial powerhouse. I had said they're kind of like the Gonzaga of the East, and maybe I'm saying it backwards. Like Gonzaga is more the Villanova of the West because, they won the national championship twice, four Final Fours. So
yeah, it's a tough place to definitely recruit and coach. The Big East is now very watered down from what it was even 8-10 years ago. But listen, to be the king of anything, we've had our opinions on Gonzaga. Winning, not getting the top crown, but winning 23 straight championships is, dude, whatever it is, it's a great job. So,
absolutely,
and hopefully enjoys the rest of what he's going to do, and he'll be missing the college basketball world for sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see him on some kind of ESPN college basketball coverage. Like we said before, good-looking dude. He actually is also super articulate. The passion that he has for basketball comes across full-throated when you see him interviewed.
Full-throated.
Dude, he has a lot of that Jimmy Valvano kind of look about him, that passion when he's talking basketball. So I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that. And frankly, we see the numbers at the end, once football season ended, and we saw some of the guys that got shuffled around, and we saw the numbers that were thrown around. Maybe Jay Wright was like, oh, so I can make $5 million a year as the Villanova head coach, or I can make $7 million a year as an analyst on ESPN. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, can we replace Seth Davis on CBS with him? That'd be lovely.
Oh, God.
Jesus.
Yes, please do. All right, let's get to what we're really here for. Talk some NFL draft news, draft talk. What we're going to do here is we're going to break down our favorite quarterbacks, our favorite wide receivers, and we're just going to say our favorite defenders. I have a couple offensive linemen that I want to throw out there for you because I think especially for, teams that have up-and-coming quarterbacks, Chicago, the Jets,
Patriots,
Jacksonville, Patriots, Houston,
Niners.
Niners. I don't know how much. Do they need help on the offensive line, though? I don't know about that. Anyway,
you could always use offensive line.
Especially those younger guys. They need the protection. They need the time. So we'll get into that. So let's start with our top QBs. I'll give you my first one right off the bat.
Are you going five down?
I have three. I'm just going. Okay. I just have. Do I have them in order? I guess I kind of do if I look down this list. Yeah, I do.
Well, then please do that.
I'll start with three. I'll start with number three, and then I'll work my way backwards. And my number three is Desmond Ridder. I liked him all year. Obviously I was on the Cincinnati bandwagon all season, proven to be correct with that. I think he's a great kid to pick up. I've mentioned him as like a Kaepernick without the attitude. A lot of straight line speed. He's not so shifty like a Lamar Jackson, but he's got that straight line speed. I think he's an excellent passer. And if you look at his evolution as a passer from his early years to the time he's a senior, you'll see a guy who really, really developed into an excellent passer. And another thing that I like about him a lot, and you see guys in the NFL have success when they come from this kind of situation, he's been a starter for a long time. So he got coaching from the same coaches for a long time, and you can see the development of him as his footwork, his arm talent, his accuracy. He showed it early in the Alabama game. I'm not going to hold the Alabama game against him when you got like almost one AA lineman blocking against some, 6 guys that are going to be in the NFL. So I think Desmond Ridder, I like him a lot. He's a proven winner. He's got the run capability, certainly has developed the passing capability. I'll acknowledge that the team that he goes to kind of needs to be ready to cater to what he's best at, like a lot of RPOs, throw some runs in there. But I don't think he's a run-centric guy. I don't think that's the case either. I just mean be ready to work with what he's capable of. I mean, you could say that about all these rookies too.
It's like a Jalen Hurts type of guy.
He's not nearly as big and strong as Jalen Hurts. He's a much better passer though, like a much better passer. And frankly, he's a better runner. He's a real long strider. Where he's best is once he gets into open space. He's off. He's just a jackrabbit. So Desmond Ridder's my number 3.
I will give you 5 and 4.
Okay.
Number 5 for me, I got Sam Howell, 6'1", 220 out of North Carolina. Gets a lot of Baker comparisons. We're both not big fans of that. I loved him 2 years ago, but you take away Javonte Williams and Michael Carter from his run game, and he kind of had a little bit of a down year. He's not exactly thrown to guys at Ohio State or Alabama either, to be fair.
Correct.
But we'll see with that. We'll see. What do you think? 3rd round for him?
I don't know if he's going to fall that late.
Second, 3rd round?
I'm gonna. My number 2 guy was Sam Howell. He has grown on me, and this is after I have to admit here. This is after I actually thought about him having a disappointing season. I'm like, wow, this guy really, really fell down my board. But then when I looked at film, I realized some of the things you just said. Graduated receivers, graduated running backs. Maybe more importantly, the offensive line was a fucking disaster this year. I don't know how. I think they lost 3 starters on the offensive line. I'm watching guys on plays that he made, like on plays that he made completions, just guys coming free. Like I don't know. Again, you know what? I don't know if to blame this on the offensive line, young team, running backs that didn't play last year, not picking up blitzers, that kind of stuff. He has grown on me. And while, yes, I actually look at him as like Baker-esque, he's thicker than Baker, number 1. Like he's a thick, strong dude. He's got a Russell Wilson type body. Okay. I think he's got a better arm than Baker Mayfield. And he absolutely, maybe more than anything, has a better attitude than Baker Mayfield. So Sam Howell, for some reason, he's grown on me. He has definitely grown on me. I was not big on him earlier.
Yeah, I'm shocked to hear that. You were not a fan.
It was only because of what I watched. After watching, I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, this guy's making plays with free blitzers, like free guys coming through the line and still making plays. So if you go back to his previous season, you're like, whoa, this dude, he's got some serious game. And oh, by the way, he can move. Like he's got some giddy up, like he can run. I'm not saying he's Desmond Ridder or Lamar Jackson. That's not what I'm saying. But he could go. Like he's a runner. He can run. And I just like that he's thick. He's a thick body. If there's a downside of like a Zach Wilson, It's that he's not. Like he's thicker bottom, but his upper body is not that thick. And you could say that about a Kyler Murray who doesn't last throughout the season, just kind of smallish. Sam Howell's not that, dude. Sam Howell's a big, strong dude. Like if he was any taller and couldn't throw, he'd probably be like middle linebacker. So he grew on me. I know that's a bit of a surprise, but he grew on me as I watched film.
Listen, that's very mature of you, and I'm glad you could admit that.
Yeah, and you want us, and you may see that when it comes to the draft, like where some people, like Todd McShay are saying, well, he's a third round pick, and I'm thinking, I wouldn't be stunned if it was a late first. I wouldn't be stunned. I'm not predicting that, but I wouldn't be stunned.
I got you.
I really wouldn't be stunned if somebody saw what I saw and is like, you know what, we're gonna jump up.
I just hope you're awake for it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now I'll give you 4 and 3 since you.
Please, yeah, go ahead.
Number 4 for me, I got your boy Desmond Ridder, 6'3", 210. Like you said, athletic, 4-year starter, 44 career wins.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
That's a big deal. And listen, he's a mature guy. He's a father. He had a baby last offseason, so I kind of like that. His teammates said they saw a big step up in leadership
a lot of growth
last year. Yeah,
a lot of growth as a player and a person, which both are important for the position. If it's a wide receiver and he doesn't grow as a person, you're like, whatever. Like, yeah. It doesn't matter. But we talk about all the time. The quarterback is it's a quarterback centric league. He's the face of your organization.
You have to be a leader of men. You have to look. When you're looking at 10 other guys and you want them to follow you, you got to be a leader.
Be grown up.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny about that? I've heard Colin Cowherd say this, and I have to agree with him, which I try not to do too often. Remember when you're an older dude now. You're what, 36? 37. Like when you were 22 or 23, were you fucking grown up?
No way.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It's almost not fair what we ask a kid to do coming out of college.
You can argue I'm still not.
I was an idiot. Like to think that I'm trying to think of somebody like Corey Davis is going to listen to me as I just come out of college. I'm a moron. Like, why would he listen to me? So, but he's a grown up. You're absolutely right. Go ahead. Sorry.
Number 3. No. Number 3 for me, I got Matt Corral. I've gone the opposite way like you went with Sam Howell. I liked his game, and I watched some film. I'm kind of like regressing on him a little bit.
I did too.
6'2", 210 out of Ole Miss, gunslinger type of guy, has never seen a throw he doesn't like.
Yeah.
Tough kid, though. You got to love a tough guy. That's where Baker Mayfield comparisons for me. He's tough. He'll play hurt.
Yes.
He can run. He showed improvement this year. He cut down on turnovers in 2021. But he went up against a lot of tough defenses in the SEC. So that you got to give that a little. But listen, they're all going to be good.
And usually did
well.
NFL,
so
usually did well. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan. I'm glad I kind of have a quarterback. You have a quarterback. I'd be a little weary if I took a shot on him here.
Yeah.
But I still have a little bit ahead of Ridder and Howell just because of the toughness and the competition.
In my opinion, he's a career backup. Like I see Chase Daniels here. Really, if you're not going to be a pro, this is the kid you want as your college team's quarterback. Like, he's just fun to watch, dude. Like, I'm kind of sad that he's not going to be in Mississippi anymore because he's fun, because he'll take off. Like you said, he's got a little gunslinger in him, which in college, especially you're playing in Mississippi. At Alabama, you can't be that. Yeah. But at Mississippi, you got to take some risks, and you got Coach K as your
I was going to say, underlay head coach. The best combination.
It was great. It was a lot of fun. I'm almost sad to see him go pro because I don't think we're going to see much of him. And listen, there's nothing wrong with being a career backup. It's a good living. I just don't see him. He's a little undersized. He gets banged up a little easily. And what's worse about him getting banged up easily is that he plays a little reckless. I don't just mean like Chuck and Duck. I mean like he will dive for first downs and he'll take hits.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have the biggest arm in the world. He's just a little undersized for me. So I don't even have him in my top 3 there.
I'll give you 2 since you gave our 2. You're ready to shoot number 1.
Yeah.
I believe you left this guy off your list. I'm just assuming. I have Malik Willis at number 2.
Yeah.
6'1", 220 at Liberty. Dude, high ceiling, high character guy. Coaches and organizations were raving about him at the combine. Arm strength is ridiculous.
It's insane.
Exciting, shooting up the draft boards, but very raw, very unproven, schedule, and all of that stuff.
Yeah. I'm gonna reserve comment on him for a minute.
All right.
My number 1 guy has been and will remain Kenny Pickett. I think he's the most NFL ready. I believe he fits the most types of schemes. Like you can put him in a West Coast. You can put him with Andy Reid. You can put him,
with Shanahan, with McVay. Yes. Yeah.
I think he fits anywhere. And listen, he's a 3 or 4 year starter, which you look at the league and you look at the guys that played a long time. If they're not super great, they're very, very good. Like they end up doing
those are guys those guys last 12, 15 years in the league.
Yes. Yep. So I don't love the fact that he wears gloves on both hands. That just bothers me. I got a problem with that. But he played in a pro-style offense in college, which translates really well to the NFL. He was a Heisman candidate. There's an argument to be made that maybe he should have won it. He's big, strong kid, thick, physical player, comes out of a tough school.
Yep.
Yeah, tough school with Pittsburgh.
Weather and Steel City.
He's been there. Yeah. In fact, the Steelers might be a kind of a good fit for him. That's been rumored. It never works out that way, so don't expect it. But it would be a really good fit, and it'd be kind of fun because he's played on that field for a long time. I just like him best. I just think he's ready to go. It's hard to say. Like I said, the Steelers to me is a good fit. Frankly, Seattle would be a really good fit for him because he's a no turnovers kind of guy, and you have a defensive coach in Pete Carroll who doesn't like turnovers, which Russell Wilson never really did.
I think Carolina is exactly the same thing. Defensive minded head coach. They're ready to roll on the defensive side.
See, Washington would be
warmer
a good
weather,
fit for
maybe
him.
turn the gloves down.
Well, who knows? Yeah, I don't know. Now, part of the glove thing is that his hands are a little undersized. I'm not getting into this shit, dude. I don't know. I get it. I get the whole small hands fumble. I don't know. He wasn't known. I looked at a lot of film. I didn't see a shitload of fumbles. Whatever. I just look at him and I say that guy looks like a pro. He's a big, strong-armed kid who can run and is smart and is a leader. Like that. Those are things you got to look at when you watch how his teammates react to him during and after games. Of all the guys that I see in this list, like he actually has that presence among his team. Him and Desmond Ridder to me, and frankly, Sam Howell had it too. You mentioned Malik Willis. I had him. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yep, my bad.
So my number one is it's going to be shocking to you. I left Kenny Pickett off this list. It's Carson Strong. No, I'm just kidding. It's Kenny Pickett. He's the most NFL ready guy. I don't have much to add to what you said. He did another guy that cut back on his turnovers a lot. 4-year starter again. Broke a lot of Marino records, which is a huge thing.
Yeah.
And the small hands could be a problem, but we'll see.
If that's going to be your deciding, facet of like what, then you don't like the kid in the first place.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Then you shouldn't be drafting him in the first round. But, you mentioned Malik Willis. For me, he's my no. I'm saying a hard no on this one, and I would take him maybe 3rd or 4th round down the road. And I love his athleticism, and I was one that was talking about him earlier in the year because he puts up some really striking numbers. He didn't belong at Liberty. Let's put it that way. First of all, he's way more talented than that program. But as you watch the film, you start to see similarities to Justin Fields' problems, which are getting off of number one receiver. And this is not me telling you alone. This is everyone who's ever scouted him. You look and you see a guy who the coach, and he had an exceptional head coach. Let's remember this. Hugh Freeze was the head coach at Liberty, who was a head coach in the SEC was he at Mississippi?
Who's this?
Hugh Freeze.
Yes, sir.
He was at Mississippi playing against SEC talent, working with SEC level assistants. And then he takes that shit over to Liberty and he's out coaching all these guys. So he knows how to scheme players open. And when you got a guy like Malik Willis who could he's got a fucking hose, dude. An absolute cannon. And then he has this awesome ability of when that first guy's not open, just take off and run like a friggin' son of a bitch and no one can catch you. And it looks amazing. And when you say high ceiling, I'm like, well, sure, if you're just going purely off of athletic ability. I'm sorry, but these are things, when I see that scares me. It scared me about Justin Fields and still does. And it scares me now because now you're talking about a kid who's like 20-something years old, and it looks like at this age, he has not learned to read defenses, and that's a friggin' problem. And it's not going to get easier when he gets to the NFL. It's going to get harder. So now you have like a kid in preschool trying to play high school football. Good luck, dude. I'm just not there. I'm not there. Now, if you were looking to like take him as I hear people taking him as high as number 2 or whatever it is to Detroit. Or is Detroit number 1? No, Detroit's number 2, right?
Yeah, Jacksonville's 1, bro.
I'm like, I'm sorry, you're crazy. Now, that doesn't mean I would take Kenny Pickett at number 2, because I wouldn't. But I'm not taking Malik Willis anywhere near there. I just don't see it.
So I'm gonna agree with something you said before about a 3rd, 4th rounder or something like that. If this was a better draft class overall at the quarterback position, I think he could flew under the radar, and you might have got a steal in the 3rd or 4th round.
That's possible.
But since now it's a very watered down year.
Well, and then you get teams that reach.
Yeah,
you get teams that reach,
absolutely.
And I think it's a mistake because number 1, I don't even care if you think he's the number 1 guy in this draft. That's fine. Nobody thinks he's ready to play next year. Nobody thinks that.
I agree with that.
And maybe
if you're going to take him in the top,
if you're going to take him in a top 10 pick, and you're not going to play him at all. Now you're going into year 2 of his contract, and you have no idea what you have on your hands.
Yeah.
So I'm just not there with that one. What I have to laugh about, though, is that you mentioned Carson Strong as your faux number 1. I'm mentioning Carson Strong also, but as a surprise.
You did almost fall off your chair when I said
I was like, oh, my God, you son of a bitch. You stole my thunder. Carson Strong played at Nevada. Carson Strong, no pun intended, has a very strong arm.
Sure does.
Carson Strong is 6'3", 226. He has a kind of Justin Herbert look about him. Like, he's big and strong. Now, there is zilch mobility, like nothing. He's Tom Brady in the pocket.
Mac Jones, yeah.
Yeah, he's staying in the pocket. But what I wrote down 3 teams here, and there's others. Let's just say you have a quarterback that you kind of have, but you're not sure how long you want him for. This is the guy to draft in maybe 2nd, 3rd round, somewhere like that. Like, it's hard to say where these guys are going to go because it matters who goes before him. Like, if all let's say Malik Willis does go in the top 10, and then so does Kenny Pickett, and then somebody jumps in 1st round, takes Sam Howell. Now you're like, oh shit, Carson Strong just became a 2nd round pick.
But that's what makes the draft so great because teams have him 2nd or 3rd on their list.
Can I steal him?
So they could get it do the Colts to back on Matt Ryan would be unbelievable in the 2nd, 3rd round. It's
actually a good pick because so Colts would be a good spot because you don't have to if you could get him in a 2nd or 3rd round, he's cheap and you're not worried about that 5th year option. And you probably know you have Matt Ryan for 2, maybe 3 years at max, right? But probably more like 2 more years. Great spot for him. I wrote down here Miami would be a good spot because it's not really putting pressure on Tua, but yet he's there if Tua just goes goes average or below average. I put Minnesota. I know they just gave him an extension, and I know they drafted the other kid from Texas A&M who I did like last year, but it sounded to me like they didn't love him very much.
Kellen Mond.
Kellen Mond. And it's not even Minnesota per se. It's that kind of place. Like maybe a Detroit sitting behind Jared Goff, who's been to a Super Bowl, learn from him, and then step in 2 years from now when Goff's contract is over. That might be a good spot.
Dude, he gets so disrespected, Goff. It's unbelievable.
It is. I try not to. I just know how he's viewed, and it is a shame. I mean, he went to a Super Bowl. Say what you want about how much of it was on him. He's a quarterback that went to the Super Bowl. We don't take that away from Trent Dilfer, and we know that was maybe the best defense in the history of the sport. So. I like the kid. He certainly is not ready to play, but I'll suggest to everyone who's listening, his name is Carson Strong, played for Nevada. Go on YouTube, just punch his name in and watch the kid sling it. He has stupid arm talent. It's a quick release and he's got a cannon and he's accurate as shit. And what I like most about his accuracy is he's accurate downfield, down the seam. I like him a lot. I love coming up with those kind of players. The guys we came up with, the top ones, they're kind of obvious. We may have them at it in a different order, but we know who the top 5 or 6 are. This kid, Carson Strong, I take a little bit of credit for the kid who's down in Houston.
Oh.
No.
Kellen.
No, he plays for the Texans.
Miller. I think he meant college. Mills. Davis Mills?
Yeah, Davis Mills. I take a little bit of credit for that because I remember when we were at this very point last year, I said, hey, listen, here's this kid, Davis Mills, number 1 player coming out of high school, had a couple injuries, but he's big, strong arm, needs to be in the right spot, which frankly, I didn't think Houston was. And I still don't know if it is, but I like finding guys like that because it's more fun for us. And if you're right, it's kind of cool. That's
for sure.
Cool. But I like this kid. I like him. I wish he was a little more mobile because it's just becoming a more mobile league for quarterbacks. But he's, as far as arm talent, oof, my goodness, it is there. It is absolutely there. Let's go
wide receivers.
Yes, sir. Wide receivers, the icing on the cake, we shall say, for NFL teams here. These guys are getting all the dough now. Other than quarterbacks, it's all about wide receivers. Bananas. It's amazing now.
I will kick this one off. So I will 4 guys down, and my 5th guy is a sleeper.
Love sleepers.
David Bell, 6'1", 210 out of Purdue. Watching him play a lot of Big Ten games, unbelievable player. 2 times all Big Ten. And that is with Ohio State guys, Penn State guys.
Yes.
Big-time wide receivers. 93 catches in 2021. Great hands. He's getting Keenan Allen comparisons. He's a little shorter than Keenan Allen, but reliable. You see Keenan Allen go over the middle, catch everything. I would say
not the worst comparison in the world.
He got knocked out against Notre Dame. He played the next week. Just a tough guy. Big fan. Someone's going to get a steal with him. He'll play 10, 12 years.
Nice. Good call on that one. That's some Big Ten insider information right there. I wasn't even going there. I will actually stay in the Big Ten, and mine are 2 and 2B, 2 and 3. I think they're almost the same player, and I would be happy with probably either one of them. That's Olave and Wilson from Ohio State. They're going to have a hell of a time replacing these 2 guys at Ohio State. I'm sure they will, but they're going to have a hell of a time doing it.
I hope they do.
They're both
struggle with it.
They're both what we would call I don't know about undersized, but neither one of them is big and neither one of them is thick. They're both about 6 foot, 280. Oh, 280. Okay. That'd be serious. 180, 178, 180, right in that range. But they're ball getters. The ball's up for grabs and they just find a way to get over, around, above the defender. They're touchdown machines, both of them. Both have good hands. Olave is a little bit better of a route runner than Wilson. Wilson's a little bit more of an over-the-top guy, but 6 of one, half dozen the other, in my opinion. They are so similar as players, and even the way they're built, and they're friggin' productive. So those are my 2. I think any team would be pretty happy with either one of these 2 guys.
I have Olave at 4. I heard somewhere where he's the safest pick in the draft. He'll play a slot, great. Greatest hands.
I think that makes some sense. Yeah.
Best route runner in the draft. 8 straight games with a touchdown last year, which is pretty damn good.
Productivity, man. Yeah. And that's what a rookie quarterback, first year starter.
Yeah. Quarterback. Number 3 for me is I got Jameson Williams out of Alabama, which is an Ohio State transfer, which is unfucking believable.
It's incredible. Can you imagine 3 of them on the same team at the same? He couldn't get on the field. It's really why he left. He couldn't get on the field.
I think he tore his ACL in the championship game or the semifinal, one of those 2.
It was near the end there, yeah.
Deep threat, to 4.3 speed, to break, running away from corners on the highlight tape. Again, he probably won't be fresh right out of the gate, but as the season goes on, he'll probably get healthier and stronger.
I have him as my number 1. I like his
game a lot. Yep.
Yeah, I have him as my number 1, and I think along the lines of what you're saying, because of the injury, I think there's a chance he might drop a little bit. When I say a little bit, I mean a handful of picks. The Jets are picking at 10. Nothing would make me happier than to see them take him at number 10. I don't even know if he lasts that long. ACL tears just aren't scaring people away the way they used to. And guys are coming back faster than ever. So the idea that he wouldn't be back, wouldn't be ready by the start of the season, I think that'd be tough, but it wouldn't surprise me if he is at the same time. Right. Young, new technology. He's the real deal, over the top speed guy in this draft. What's interesting about this draft is everybody keeps saying, it's a deep wide receiver draft. I'm not seeing that. I don't see that. I see a handful of guys at the top, and then I see, if they're all 9s and 10s, they're not all 9s and 10s, but if they're all 9s and 10s, I think right after these first few that we're talking about, I think there's a drop to a bunch of 6s and 7s. There's almost no 8s in there. It's just really, really good. And then a bunch of guys that we don't know much about,
Yeah. I don't know if it was Orlowski or someone else last week was saying that you can get a starter in the 6th round. I don't see that either.
It happens all the time. When I looked at 40 times, I'm not seeing these real speedsters out there. And if they are, they're 5'8", 5'9". It's well, that's not exactly what I'm looking for either.
You're right. You always got the exception to the rule. You got them, but not multiple. I don't think is what I meant.
And you're not getting them all along the way either. Like you may go 3 rounds where you don't get any. So I just I thought last year there was a bunch. Like I thought there was significantly more near the top that were going to be more productive. I'm not seeing it. And when we get to who I don't like, it may surprise some people, but it has to do with what I mean with this draft in particular. So, but I love Jamison Williams. It is really unfortunate that he got hurt. But it's going to help somebody because he's going to drop a little bit, and they're going to. I think they're going to get a steal with him.
Agreed. Number 2 for me. I know you're not a huge fan, and you might be hitting on this one a little bit, but I'll jump in. Drake London out of USC, big kid, 6'4", 220.
Yep.
88 catches, over 1,000 yards, and 7 touchdowns in 8 games last year with a quarterback that I can't name in a lineup.
Correct.
High school basketball star, very athletic kid. I've watched him play a lot. You're sitting on a couch having a bourbon, watching 10 o'clock Pac-12 football.
Pac-12 games, the best.
I like him. I know he's coming off an injury as well. I think his knee as well is an ACL for him.
I don't think he tore it.
No. But I know they shut him down at the end.
Yeah, they shut him down. And he may have shut it down after that, knowing that he was going to go into the draft.
And number 1 for me, you mentioned before, Garrett Wilson. Watching him torment my Wolverines for 3 years. 6'1", 180, 4'4", 40. Most complete wide receiver. I had that for Olave before I made a mistake. That's for Garrett Wilson. Great body control. One-hand catches, turns around. He runs a comeback route great. So he's going to be a good pick.
That body control is huge in the NFL because you'll get a lot of guys that do like, they'll throw behind the receiver.
Yeah.
And you got to have body control to make that play. My hard no is Drake London. I don't see the guy. There was a time that kind of receiver was useful. We'll call him like a possession receiver, or my comp for him is like a Keyshawn Johnson. Like there's no real deep threat there. He's big and kind of slow. And I don't see a guy in the NFL that compares to him that's really successful. Like everybody has some speed. Everybody has, like I heard him compared to, what's the dude for Tampa? Mike Evans?
Mike Evans?
I'm sorry, I don't see that. Mike Evans blows by people all the freaking time.
Yeah, he gets better out for speed. He's open a lot.
He gets deep and gets by people. Like this kid can't really get by anybody. I just don't see it. I don't see the guy in the NFL. Like I'll look at the teams that are successful. Kansas City. Do you see a guy on Kansas City that's like a slow 4.6 40 possession?
I do not.
Even their tight end has more speed than most wide receivers, right? They just got rid of Tyreek Hill. Like, they're speed all over the place there. The Rams, they have any slow receivers? No. San Francisco have any slow receivers? Like, where are these big, slow guys that everybody loves? Now the thing to like about him, if you have a young quarterback, if you're Jacksonville, if you're Chicago, if you're Houston, this might be interesting for them. What you do like is the big catch radius, right? He's 6'4", with big, long arms. You don't have to be perfect with Drake London, okay? So he's not a big yards after the catch guy, or I don't think he will be in the NFL because he's not super elusive, and he's certainly not a deep threat. But what you do like is he's kind of like a tight end at wide receiver. He's kind of a safety net, and it's kind of like just get it somewhere close to him. Even if you overthrow him a little, he's just so big and so long, and he does have great hands. I just don't see that as being the guy as a first-round pick in the NFL right now. I'm just hard-pressed to see the guy that compares to him, big and slow wide receivers. I can't think of any. I really genuinely can't think of any big, slow receivers in the NFL. Like, there's no more Keyshawn Johnsons. That kind of player is not there anymore. Interestingly enough, also went to USC. So, for me, Drake London, not a first-round pick for me, Later in the draft, this is where when I say no, I'm talking like hard no. We're talking about the top players, so I'm not taking them as one of my top 10 picks, 15 picks. I probably wouldn't even take him in the first round if I'm being honest. The kid from Arkansas, I like more. Both kids from Ohio State, I like more. The kid you just mentioned from Purdue, And then you got to take into account, the big catch radius. Okay, and he put up big numbers against Pac-12 defenses, which you won't see one Pac-12 defensive back in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft.
That's a lie.
Well, you're going to get the kid from Washington?
Yeah, but just one's more than 0. All
right, it's 1 more than 0. Good call. You got me. There's 1. I take it back. 1 out of 96 picks.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, that's it on the wide receivers, buddy boy.
Yep. Let's do how about our top defensive players? This is always fun. And I think you'll probably get a theme from both Scotty and I of like what really ends up being most important when it comes to like first round defensive picks. So I'll let you start this off. We'll see if my theory holds true.
I got number 5, Trayvon Walker, defensive end, Georgia. Freak athlete. Reminds me a little bit of Javon Curse.
Dude.
I
have him as my number 3.
Flying up the drop boards here a little bit. Kind of disappeared in some games.
He did.
Which is odd for a guy that freaky and playing in the SEC.
It's worrisome. It's worrisome.
Yeah.
Because you got to wonder.
That's why I have him that low.
Yeah. Was he bored? Was he high? Was he disinterested? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But I have him as my number 3. 272 pounds, running a 4.5 40.
Mm-hmm.
That is how people get murdered. Like that is a missile. Scary shit. Super fast. National championship game, he had 7 pressures. Hello? That's one fucking dude. That's bananas. All right. This guy's scary. The motor is what people are mostly concerned about. You brought it up specifically about the idea of like he's not always ready to go. Yeah. So, but athletically, oh my God, he's probably as far as like we'll call like front 7. He's probably the most dangerous looking player in the front 7 of all the guys that are here. Like just from an athletic standpoint.
Yep. Number 4 for me, I got Ahmad Sauce Garner. Who might look good in green and white. We will see. I don't know. 6'3", 200 pounds. He never allowed a touchdown in his college career. Only 130 yards in 14 games in 2021. He's the epitome of a shutdown corner.
Love him. Yeah. My number 2 is Aidan Hutchinson. Obvious reasons. I call him like TJ Watt 2.0. Like he has all the things that you want in a defensive end, and it also, maybe more importantly, is that never-ending relentless motor. Like we were just talking, Trayvon Walker is a better athlete than Hutchinson. Trayvon Walker can't even like shine any light on Aidan Hutchinson's just willingness, desire, production, like just every single play, the guy gets after it. Period. End of story. And maybe most importantly, is he really showed up big in the biggest games.
Right.
Maybe not the Final Four game. He wasn't as much of a factor. I think it was so much bigger than just him, though. So the problems that Michigan had in that game. But you talk about the Ohio State game, like the conference championship.
Iowa game,
The guy just shows up big in big spots, but he shows up big all the goddamn time. He's as sure of a sure thing as there probably is in this draft. Outside a couple of the offensive linemen that I might mention in a little bit, he's as sure of a sure thing as there is. Especially on a defensive side. For whatever reason, on the defensive side, it seems to me to be a little bit more of a coin toss on how guys are going to, turn out. But boy, this to me, it's just he's a win. Period. End of story.
Number 3 for me, Kayvon Thibodeaux, 6'3", 250 from Oregon. Big frame, quick first step. Another guy, lazy at times. And his questions, does he love football? That would also scare me picking the top 10.
That's a tough question to ask, right? Man. Do you love football? I just Go ahead. I'm going to let you go again. Go ahead.
Number 2, I got Notre Dame safety Kyle Hamilton, 6'4", 220. Best tackler, I think, in the draft. This guy, he can play in a box. He can cover. He can pick. He got good hands. The only problem with him is, we've talked about this for weeks, is you want to put all that into a safety. Safety's kind of a dying breed in the league. I know you need them. I know some defenses, they're very important, but to pick a guy number 2 and pay him, like it's risky.
That's the problem for me. Yeah, it's totally the problem for me. Like you can tell me who the best kicker in the league is, like in college football is by far, and it doesn't mean I need to pick him, but take him with the second pick in the draft. Right. It's not to say that safety isn't important. It is, but in comparison to like a corner, a defensive end, an offensive lineman, a quarterback, or a wide receiver, it pales.
Yeah.
I mean, I can make an argument that linebackers are more important than safeties. Like you can get away with mediocre safeties if you have good corners.
Yep.
You can't get away with mediocre corners just because you have good safeties. Doesn't work the other way around.
And you can get away with mediocre corners if you have a pass rush. Like
Absolutely.
the Giants did for years.
And you can get away with mediocre pass rush if you have great corners. None of those equations have anything to do with the safeties.
Correct.
Safeties they're great to have. And if you're on the brink of being a championship team, it would be really nice to bring in a Jamal Adams. Yeah. It would be really nice to bring in one of these elite safeties. But to draft one so high and then put yourself in that kind of, for lack of a better term, that Jamal Adams situation 3-4 years from now, no, thank you. Right, it's just not that vital. It's just not that vital to me. I'm not going there. No way. But he's great. I mean, he's great.
He is. He's great.
He's fantastic. This is not a knock on him. It's about the position.
Peter, especially if you're picking in the top 5 or 10, like you need other guys. Like there's other positions. Like.
Yeah, you're a sub 500 team, probably very sub. So you don't need safety is a luxury. It's a luxury, dude. You probably need 2-3 offensive linemen. You probably need wide receivers. There's a good chance you need a quarterback. You probably need defensive linemen and linebackers. Safety is it's last. It's one of the last things you end up getting.
Like even Palomalu was a mid-round, 12 or something. Ed Reed was 18. Like those guys, legendary players, but
so unless you're gonna think you're gonna pull some crazy shit like Joe Douglas did and get a steal for Jamal Adams down the road, I don't know that that's ever gonna happen again. But I just he
might have ended that trend.
Yeah, who knows what Pete Carroll was smoking on that day? But thank God he was. If you're a Jets fan, so my number one, you already mentioned him, is Sauce Gardner. I genuinely believe him to be the best player in this draft. I'm not saying I would take him with the number one pick. I just think he's the best player. You mentioned the fact that he's never been scored upon. 6'3", 190, 195, 200, who knows?
Yep.
Super athletic, great ball skills, great hands. If he wasn't a corner, he'd probably be a wide receiver. I always like guys like that because they tend to get those picks that some other guys don't. And for me, what was most impressive is that he showed it against Alabama. Like they either didn't throw his way or his guy just wasn't open. Like and that's against the best. So I say it all the time and it sounds like no big deal. That game was 17-3 going midway through the third quarter. And they have a really good, I can't remember his name right now. They have a really good corner on the other side of the field. And both of these corners has a lot to do with why Cincinnati was as good as they were last year.
That would be Mr. Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, he's really good as well. He's not Sauce, but he's really, really good. But this kid is legit. And I'm super impressed with him. And from your lips to God's ears, if the Jets find a way to take him, I'm down. It's not so sexy.
No, it's sexy.
But to have that shutdown.
I got one last year, bro. It's sexy.
Yeah, to have that shutdown corner where you literally are kind of shutting down half the field, regardless of who the quarterback is. That helps. And now you're in a division where you got Josh Allen, you got Tua with all kinds of weapons. You got Bill Belichick on the other side there. Also, you have 3 either good teams or good coaches or both. And to be able to just shut down one side of the field is pretty fucking sweet.
If you could shut down Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, and Patriots, I don't know right now. They might get somebody, but
who knows?
That's huge. That's freaking huge.
Well, if you know what, when it comes to the Patriots, you don't have somebody, so now you can really get creative. It gives you an opportunity to get creative. So
and he can blitz from the corner. I've seen him blitz.
He's big. Yeah, he's exactly. You make a great point there. He's big. He's not 5'9", 175. This is 6'3", 200.
Yeah.
He's a baller. He's a player. He's physical too. So yeah, I still think Aidan Hutchinson corners are funny. Corners are funny, dude. They look like studs. The Jets have been in this position before. They drafted a kid out of Alabama who was supposed to be a no-brainer. He's not even in the league anymore.
Well, Miller?
Who was it? Yes.
Was it Miller?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
D. Miller.
It was a first-round pick too. Ugh, break your heart. Anyway, so Aidan Hutchinson to me is the no-brainer. He's a guaranteed hit, but Sauce Gardner is right there. But I think he's actually a better player in general, like an all-around better player.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. Number one for me, Aiden Hutchinson, 6'6", 260 out of my maize and blue. Highest graded defender. He's good against the run and the pass. Like you said before, the motor, he does not give up on a play ever.
Or any play. He does not take plays off either.
Nope.
He plays every play to the end, and he plays every single play.
Big-time leader, showed up in every big game. And then you could say with the Georgia game before, there was a lot of holding. They went away from him on a lot of plays.
And that game was over before he would have even mattered.
Absolutely right. And, he became a legendary Wolverine, and I will be forever To him, I love the guy. I hope he plays 10 years and has a Hall of Fame career.
Is he a senior?
Yeah.
Senior. Good. So he played there the whole time.
And he came back after hurting his leg in COVID year.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right.
Last year.
My one guy to stay away from, you mentioned him. I think there's a lot of talent there. Don't get me wrong, but he scares me, and that's Kayvon Thibodeaux.
Dude, really, I know.
That competition thing bothers me. I never like when you ask, does the guy love the game? Does he love the sport? And does he show up all the time? And then the other thing that bothers me a little bit, not as much, but it raises questions, that's all, is that he played in the Pac-12. And he had one chance that he could have showed his talent against elite teams, and that was against Ohio State. It was the second game of the season. And he didn't play because of injury. Not his fault, don't get me wrong, but it would have been an opportunity to show what he's capable of against the best, and he didn't play. So I have questions, and I just look and I say, we're talking about top 10, top 15 picks. You need to be really friggin' sure. Like this has to be a home run. This has to be a starter, a 7 to 10 year starter for you. And if he's not, it's a loss. Like it's a wasted pick, frankly. If he's just a decent player, Jadeveon Clowney, I think Houston would look at that as like a lost pick, a wasted pick. He never panned out to be what he was supposed to be coming out of South Carolina. And there were some of the same questions of him as there are of Tip. You watch kid play, fast, hard off the edge, strong as shit. There's a lot there. And there's nothing wrong. Some of the people say, like some of the complaints I've heard is that, he's too worried about his brand. Well, dude, they're all worried about their brand. I mean, but do you show up on the field? Like OBJ worries about his brand, but then he shows up on the field when he's got someone, that quarterback that's not named Baker Mayfield. So it's not so much that. It's just, what you see. He takes plays off, takes games off. Like it bothers you. And it only matters as far as like a top 5, top 10 pick. Are you willing to, invest in that? If you knew he had the motor of an Aidan Hutchinson and he was available at 4, you'd be crazy as the Jets not to take him. Or you'd be crazy as Detroit not to take him. Like the game is quarterback centric, right? So what's your job? Get the quarterback, protect the quarterback, get somebody that gets after the quarterback, and get somebody that catches the ball and instead of the quarterback, your cornerback. So if he becomes what has the potential to, look out. I just don't know. I have questions, and that scares me when it comes to top 10 pick.
And if you're picking, and there's other options there. There's other guys you can go to. Exactly. So it's not.
And if you're some of these teams, like you just mentioned, if you're a top 10 pick team, you have more than one need. I'm trying to think of who might be there, like top 10. They all kind of suck. Giants have multiple needs. Jets have multiple needs. Carolina, Washington has multiple needs. Like
Seattle now, they're
multiple
breaking
needs
it down. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So if you're the Jet, let's say you're the Jets, or you're I'm trying to think of who else has multiple. All right, so New Orleans Eagles has multiple picks. I think they traded. They might still, but New Orleans has multiple picks. I think one of them is like 18. Well, that might be a really interesting spot to pick them, because you're not looking at that as like a top 10 pick. It's going to cost you millions and millions down the road. It's an interesting spot, but just a top 5, top 10, I bristle at that just a little bit. So, do you have anybody else, or are you good?
That's it for me, pal. You want to hit on some linemen?
I wanted to mention a couple linemen because, when we talk about quarterbacks, if you look historically at quarterbacks who we thought were going to be good, but then failed so many times, it has to do with the fact that team was bad. That's why they were picking number 1, number 2, number 3, a la the Jets, a la the Cleveland Browns, a la the Detroit Lions. And it's always like surround the kid with talent, meaning wide receivers. And what you really need to do is protect the fucker. Like they're rookies. So
makes sense, right?
You need to figure out a way to slow the game down for them. And just getting wide receivers doesn't help you. Look at what Detroit Lions did for years with Matthew Stafford. He constantly had weapons. They had tight ends. They had wide receivers. They had running backs. They had all kinds of weapons. They never had a good offensive line. Suddenly he goes to the Rams. You put a really great offensive line in front of him. Super friggin' bowl. So I think it's important to surround younger players with great offensive linemen. And it's also great to let those linemen grow with the quarterback. If you ask most offensive linemen what their number one thing they want to know about the quarterback is where he's going to be. Like, I need to know where I need to pass set, which just means like where I'm expecting the quarterback to be so that I know where I can guide my defensive lineman to. And sometimes that takes time. That could take years. One thing that's great about having a very statuesque Tom Brady, Carson Strong type quarterback is that you know exactly where he's going to be. So you know exactly where not to let your guy go. Okay. While it's great to have mobile quarterbacks, Johnny Manziel is a pain in the ass because you never know where the hell he's going to be. And as an offensive lineman, that fucks you up. You don't know where to guide where you can send your D lineman. So offensive linemen are important. There's a rare case this year of a first round center. You probably seen him play a lot this year.
Mr. Lindenbaum?
Mr. Lindenbaum, Tyler Lindenbaum out of Iowa. I would actually even say he's a top 20 pick. It's very, very rare that you see a center taken in the top 20. Don't be too surprised if you see the Jets trade down from 10 to like 16, 17, 18, pick up multiple picks, and then take him there. That wouldn't shock me at all.
That would be good.
And here's why I say that. We could talk about this more next week when we do like our
All-American high school wrestler, if I'm not mistaken, right?
If you look at the Jets historically, let's say the last 20 years, they're really great years. Kevin Mawai was their center, and Mangold was their center.
Nick Mangold, yeah.
Okay. And you say, well, it's not the most important position. Well, you're right, but that's kind of like the point guard of your offensive line. He's the one who communicates all the calls. And this kid is legit. Like, he's by a long shot the best center in college football. He's one of the best linemen, period, in college football. So that's one to keep your eye on. If your team is looking for a center, Tyler Lindenbaum, you don't normally see centers taken high. You probably will see him go pretty high. And then it just comes down to like tackles. Tackles are like, kind of the sexier picks of the offensive linemen. So I'll give you a few here. I'm going to mess this name up. Is it Ikem Ekwonu? Great. He could play both sides. You could even move him to guard if you had to. Yeah, NC State Wolfpack. Evan Neal, Alabama. Listen, they produce one of the better tackles every single friggin' year. He was coached up well. He's going to have great footwork. They always work when they come out of Alabama. This is a name I'm going to give you that I didn't know about. Charles Cross, Mississippi State. He's the top tackle on Pro Football Focus, which surprised the shit out of me. His grading isn't the top, but somehow they still have him at the top. Regardless, he's good. So you're going to want to keep an eye on him if you're a team looking for a tackle. And then finally, I'll give you one more, kind of a small school. Sounds interesting. Love when these guys come out and they show out. Bernard. Oh my God, I'm going to say his name wrong. Raymond. Am I saying it wrong?
I don't know.
I have it right here. Raymond. Yeah. Raimann. 94.6 grade, PFF grade, which was third best amongst offensive linemen this year. Obviously, the question is you're playing at Central Michigan, so you're not playing the same competition. So does that grade equate? But he played really well at the Senior Bowl. Don't be surprised to see him taken pretty high too. These are guys that matter. These are not hot picks, blow you away. But when your team is doing well and you're like, God, we haven't been sacked in 3 weeks. It's not your quarterback. Totally. It's your offensive lineman.
Who was the guy from Central that went to the Chiefs? Fisher?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was great.
Yeah.
He'd still be there if he didn't tear his Achilles 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
You're right.
I don't even think he played this past season.
That's what killed the Chiefs' Super Bowl chance there. Yeah,
they lost two of their. They lost Schultz too. Was that or was it Schwartz?
Sounds about right. Something like Schwartz. Yeah,
they lost two of their starters, and that didn't help. That's for sure.
Schwartz up.
And we got a little bit of NFL news or
potentially on the horizon. NFL news.
Some strife going on the West Coast here. Deebo Samuel apparently is not happy with the San Francisco 49ers, and he has, I'll say requested. I don't know that you can demand a trade, but he has certainly requested a trade. What do you think?
What happened there?
Well, he hasn't said exactly what it looks like.
Which is more theory. All
right, so let me start off with this. From what I heard, he wants a new contract. His contract isn't up, and San Francisco isn't even talking to him. They made an offer, but then that was it. He declined the offer, and there's no negotiations going on. Is that the biggest deal in the world? No, it's not the biggest deal in the world. But what I'm starting to hear, and what I kind of figured in the first place, is something that we like about Deebo Samuel. He doesn't particularly like, which is his versatility. And let me say this. Normally, I'm just like, screw you. You're a player. Do what you're. I get it, and you'll understand why. So as we talked about, they line him up at slot. They line him up at X, split out. They line him up they'll do speed sweeps with him, but they also line him up at tailback and just run power dive.
Yep.
And he looks great. Well, he doesn't really like that. And why? Because the durability issue, right? Like, he's taking a fucking beating.
And it's hurt his value on the wide receiver market too.
Of course. And, it's going to shorten his career. And it's like, well, are you a wide receiver that's worth $25 million? Or are you like a kind of slash player that's worth 15?
Right.
So, and you can say, well, why couldn't he be both? Well, if you look at the first half of the season, he was the leading receiver on the San Francisco 49ers this year. And if you look at the second half of the season,
he was not.
He was the third or fourth choice. They were throwing more to Brandon Ayuk. They were throwing to Kittle more. Now, granted, Kittle was hurt in the beginning of the season, so that's going to have something to do with it. But they were also handing the ball off to him more, and he didn't particularly like that. I get this. I totally understand this. So the solution to this for San Francisco is you have to pay him like a wideout, even if you're going to use him as a running back. I don't know what kind of numbers they threw at him, but I get what his complaint is.
Definitely.
And but I also get, like, we're here to win. You were a couple plays away from a Super Bowl. If you could have ran for a touchdown, wouldn't you like to have done that and be like, Super Bowl hero kind of thing? So it's a catch-22. But as far as contract, money, career, I get what he's talking about. I haven't heard any kind of response from San Francisco on this. I don't know that they're saying screw you or they're playing hardball with that. So
I haven't heard a peep out of them. I think they're probably playing it smart right now. Would you trade number 10 for him?
Yeah, this is the interesting part, right? Because Deebo Samuel plays for San Francisco 49ers, and you have the Jets offensive coordinator. Mike LaFleur was a wide receivers coach or quarterbacks coach, whatever the hell he was over at San Fran. And obviously Robert Saleh, who's the Jets head coach, was the defensive coordinator at San Francisco. And you say, well, seems like an easy transition. Well, what's interesting about that is those guys know exactly how they use Deebo Samuel, and wouldn't they consider using him exactly the same? So he might not necessarily be thrilled with that. And this is kind of the idea of like, well, Aidan Hutchinson should go to Detroit. He's played in Michigan, so Detroit's a natural fit. And it's like, well, it doesn't really go that way.
I know.
It doesn't. I mean? Like, it sounds romantic and all, but it really doesn't work that way. I don't know that the Jets would want to do that. If you're asking, would I give up the number 10 pick? No, because whoever their number 10 pick is, you're going to pay him about $4 million, $3 or $4 million the first year. It'll escalate over the next 4 years, but he's kind of cheap. And I'd rather have a Jameson Williams than Deebo Samuel for 25.
Right.
You know what I mean? For an average of 25 per year. So I would not give up. The 4 or the 10. I would give up some other combination. They almost had Tyreek Hill without giving up our first round pick. It was just that Miami came in late, including a first round pick. But it was going to be like multiple twos, multiple whatever. It was still going to be 5 picks, but it was going to be not nearly as valuable. So
I think he'll maybe a better fit for you guys than Samuel too.
Who would?
Tyreek Hill would have been a better fit, I think.
I don't know, because we already have like 2 guys that are very similar to him. We have Elijah Moore, and you
won 5 games.
Yeah, I understand. I think there's bigger problems.
I think Elijah Moore is more comparable to Deebo Samuel, to be honest with you. That's my opinion.
Well, Samuel's a lot bigger than Moore is.
Is he?
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's a 6 foot plus guy. Or 6 foot, 6'1", I like Deebo Samuel. I don't know that I like him as a wide receiver only. And when I say I don't know, I don't mean like I don't think I do. I mean I genuinely don't know. Like if he was only to line up at wide receiver, is he still do we still like him as much as we liked him this season because of his versatility?
So I had him in fantasy. I had him in fantasy.
Yeah.
And he was great all year. So he was putting up great numbers. So that was before he even went to running back. So I think he could be just a valuable wide receiver. Yeah. And that's what Jimmy G don't forget either.
I like Jimmy G, so yeah. But I know what you're saying. Yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah, it's not Peyton Manning. Yeah.
Correct.
It's not Justin Herbert.
Now
it's interesting. That's a big price, though.
Now,
if the
Packers could work out some kind of deal with them,
there's no way the money is there. Yeah, where's the money? And why would San Fran do that?
And I don't think they would trade him in the NFC either. I was telling that to somebody.
Well, it's not just the NFC. It's like another contender. You know, you might trade him to like the Bears.
The
Bears. You know, but who gives a shit about the Bears? But
man, has Chicago become where wide receivers go to die? Oh my god!
Well, it's because that's where the bad quarterbacks are, you know,
and bad coaching.
God, I was listening to ESPN in the morning. Of course, Keyshawn J. Will.
Why do you keep doing that to yourself?
Because there's nothing else. It's what's available. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. That's what's available, my friend.
Stern.
You're still sleeping. I'm doing my thing. I'm doing research. So I'm listening to these idiots.
Okay, big man.
I'm listening to these idiots, and then Justin Herbert really, not Justin Herbert, Justin Fields. He's going to make a big leap this year. And I'm like,
God.
What? You're just so stuck on what you want as opposed to what you see. Just forget about what you want. This is why I can tell you I have high hopes for Zach Wilson, but I can't put it anywhere there yet. Like, this is what I see. Like, I see what I see. You know, there's some things I like. There's a lot that makes me nervous. Be honest. There are highlight plays that you get from Justin Fields, and then the rest of the time you're like, the guy can't even throw a 5-yard out with any accuracy. What are you watching?
I don't know.
And you're going to blame that on Nagy, on Matt Nagy, that the kid can't throw a 5-yard out, or that he can't read defenses? Is that also what's his face is the head coach of Ohio State? Is it his fault too? Is it every coach's fault? Is any of this on the player? Are we ever going to look at the player and say, you know what? He's just not good. Only with Trubisky, though. Trubisky's the only one that we'll be honest with, right? And then I say this year, Robinson isn't even there with Chicago. Who's he throwing to?
Right.
Like, it's going to be a miserable
year. Some guy
year.
named Darryl Mooney, I think. Or something.
It's going to be a miserable year for Justin Fields. Plus, it's his second year. So it's his 3 coaches in 3 years now for him. Take it from me. It's not comfortable. Like, it sucks. Just language alone, the communication alone. You have to learn the language, and it's hard. So he's starting from scratch again. So I would say, again, you can't really fully judge him based on what you're going to see this year. No talent, shitty offensive line, no wide receivers, new coach, and he's not great. Good luck. Like, I heard them talking like, oh, you think the Jets would switch with Justin Fields and Zach Wilson? No. Why would they do that?
No.
Last 5 games of the season, Zach Wilson threw 6 touchdowns and 1 interception. If you remember in the beginning of the season, I said to you, what I want to see is improvement as the season goes on. I don't expect this team to be good. This is a team that the Jets almost beat Tampa Bay. By the way, who was the 4th highest rated red zone quarterback in the NFL last year? Zach Wilson. 4th highest rated quarterback rating in the NFL in the red zone. Zach Wilson. Doesn't turn the ball over in the red zone and creates touchdowns. These are the things you would like to see out of your rookie. Did you see that out of Justin Fields? You saw nothing out of Justin Fields. You're like, oh, there it is. You see that? That's where we're going to get more of that. More what? The running? Okay. You can rest on that if you'd like to.
Okay.
NBA playoffs are in full bloom and blossoming well, and there are injuries. There are strange stories. It's total chaos. So what are you thinking so far?
So first thing I want to say is the NBA playoffs to regular season is a different universe.
It's just ridiculous.
Oh my God.
It's ridiculous.
I'm finding myself watching a lot of NBA playoffs where I watch.
Yes. It's a good product.
Oh my God.
Why? Because they're playing hard. The NBA regular season, it might as well just be called, they should just have preseason and then playoffs, because the NBA regular season is just totally unwatchable.
Bad.
But what you're watching right now, stars playing like stars, everyone playing hard on every possession, hard fouls, physical basketball, like defense matters, mid-range shots. You can take your analytics and throw them out the window because Chicago Bulls just beat the Bucks, and DeMar DeRozan, who's not a three-point shooter, was a huge part of that, and he's a mid-range shooter. Suddenly, in the playoffs, the mid-range jumper matters. And in the regular season, nobody gives a shit, right? It is funny. We talked about this with baseball, and we'll get to the Yankees and some baseball in a minute. But how analytics matters over 162 games, but when it comes down to a 5 or 7 game series, you can shove your analytics right up your ass because it becomes situational. It's all like, what do you need right this minute? Sometimes you just need a basket. You don't need what the highest percentage is or whatever. You need a hoop, dude. You need to stop the other team's momentum. So,
big men dominating so far.
Yeah, Embiid is showing himself to be worthy of league MVP. I would have voted for him anyway. I'm down here in South Jersey, so I'm a little biased probably. Not that I'm a Sixers fan, but I get to hear about him a lot and what he's doing. And this is as dominant. We have to really be honest about this. He's as dominant a big man as we've seen in the NBA. Now, the NBA used to be dominated more by big men. They used to be more post players. But what I mean by that is he's a physical presence on the inside. He plays really great on the block with his back to the basket, a little fadeaway, power, moves, all that stuff. But he's also able to shoot the threes. Like nowadays, it looks like all centers are just 3-point shooters, and Nikola Jokic over there in Denver. Embiid is, dude, he's unstoppable.
I'm glad you brought up Jokic. I was watching the Warriors games. He is getting pounded. And
oh my God!
And he's unbelievable. I don't watch many Nuggets games, as you would imagine.
Sure,
he is awesome.
He's a one-man gang out there too.
I was just going to say
there's so many injuries. Yeah, that team is just bereft of any kind of talent right now. They're all banged up, and all their starters are out. But I mean, he's a really good player, but he's a more modern. A more modern type center, playing a perimeter. Don't clog up the middle. Don't get the ball in the low post with your back to the basket. Embiid does both. Embiid is, he's, and what you have to like about him, give him some credit. If you remember early in his career, there's a lot of injuries. There were concerns about his weight, about his fitness, about his willingness to put in the work and be ready to last an entire season. And 2 straight seasons now, you can really make an argument, especially this season. You can make an argument that he's the most dominant player in the NBA. Yep. Giannis would have a shot at that title. Kevin Durant, of course, but Kevin Durant, speaking of which, he's been shut. Shut down is going to be strong. We're going to take that. I'm going to take that one back. He has been managed. He still scored 27 last night, but you know what? 27 isn't going to be enough because him and Kyrie Irving are really the only 2 real talented players, scorers on that team. Jason Tatum blocked the shot multiple times. When's the last time you seen Kevin Durant get his shot blocked?
I know.
Okay. Wow. So Celtics, what an interesting story. This team was outside the playoffs a third of the way to just under halfway through the season. And they they had the best record in the NBA the rest of the season.
Dude, they're a 2 seed. It's crazy.
It's insane. They went from a 10 to a 2 in 2 months. It was really something else.
You know who I give a lot of credit there too? I give Al Horford a lot of credit. Veteran guy. I think he grabbed Tatum and Brown and said, listen, cut the bullshit. You guys are 2 great players, and they've been unreal ever since.
Oh, I think you're probably right. Isn't it interesting how somehow it always comes down to that senior leadership, experienced leadership, veteran leadership, the Chris Pauls, the Al Horfords. You need that guy.
Udonis Haslem,
it took Milwaukee getting a Drew Holiday to kind of be a grown up in the room and say this is what we need to do. You see that a lot, right? You can't just put talent together. There needs to be a grown up who's a leader that just takes everybody by the hand and says, "Let's go. This is what we need to do," or "This is what you need to do. This is what we need from you."
Andre Iguodala type of guy,
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to mention Draymond Green. Draymond Green is kind of that, that player for Golden State who doesn't necessarily have the stat line, but he's as important a player as there is on the court for Golden State because he is their leader, and it's important. They take their cue from him, and to have a guy like that is huge. Couple real interesting and vital injuries. Looks like Devin Booker is going to be out 2 to 3 weeks now.
Yeah, it's bad.
And they're already in a dogfight with New Orleans. I suspect they would still win the series, but 2 to 3 weeks is not 2 to 3 days or 2 to 3 games. That could be a whole nother series.
Although when he went out of that game, the Pelicans.
Yeah. Ooh. But you know what? There's a shock factor when you lose your star in the middle of a game. Now you have a couple days to practice and adjust and do your thing. So I suspect that Phoenix will come out and, it's funny. This happens all the time in the NBA. This happens all the time in sports. You get a star gets hurt. So it happened in baseball, happens a lot in basketball, sometimes in football also. A star gets hurt, and you're like, oh, shit, they're screwed. Hockey, this happens all the friggin' time. Guy gets hurt, star gets hurt. He's out for 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes more. The team really plays their balls off for like 3-4 games, and you're like, oh, they're going to be fine without him. And then it goes south because you realize, well, they're not as good without their star. So I think you'll see Phoenix play really well, probably for the rest of the series and probably win this series. But if he's out longer than this series alone, I mean, he's their top scorer, so that's a big ask. Once you get into the second and third round, that's a big ask to go without your top scorer. I just,
Speaking of the Warriors, dude, if they get hot, look out. And it looks like they're on that way.
Yeah, and then when you take into account these injuries that we're talking about, if Booker's going to be out, and if Golden State gets to take on Phoenix without their best player or second best player, depending on what you think of Chris Paul, that's huge.
Oh my God.
I mean, that is freaking huge, right? I mean, this is kind of why the Lakers won 3 years ago, whatever it was, 2 years ago, because they ended up playing teams without their stars, and it's like, oh yeah, great job. So yeah, I mean, and it matters. And it still counts. This is what Toronto did, right? Toronto a couple years ago with Kawhi Leonard, they ended up playing a couple teams that had injuries, and it's like, well, they played this team without this one, and they played the Warriors without Clay, and they played get the championship. That's all that matters, Yep. So yeah, the stars could be. And oh, by the way, Golden State's playing really well. That helps.
Yeah, sure does.
They're playing very, very well, and they're healthy. They're fully healthy for the first time since like the first 20 games of the season.
Dude, they had a lineup on the floor the other night. I don't think there's a guy who was 6'7", and they were, dude, it was bananas. Like they were just pouring in points.
Yep. Yeah, It's hard to keep up with it. Now, it's hard to play defense if it ends up being a half-court game like that.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be on the other end, it's hard to keep up with them. So, Chris Middleton got hurt last night too. He's a guard for Milwaukee. This, to me, this could be a bigger problem for Milwaukee. Giannis is great. Okay, Giannis is great, but he's limited. Okay, he's not really like a great shooter, whereas Chris Middleton kind of fills that need for like the scorer, the three-point guy, the outside shooter. And without him, I actually think they're in more trouble than the Suns might be without Cory Booker. The Suns have other ways of
Devin Booker.
What did I say? Cory Booker.
Cory Booker.
Sorry. Okay, senator
mayor
from New Jersey, the New Jersey senator. Asshole. I think he's more vital because, and he's also more of a leader on Milwaukee than Booker is on Phoenix. The leader of Phoenix is Chris Paul, and while Giannis is the best player on that team, Chris Middleton is kind of like
the glue,
the glue on that team. So that could be a huge thing. It is funny though, these injuries, it reveals teams. It's an issue that has to be dealt with. It's kind of unfortunate because you like to see, you want to see the best players on the court at all times and really get an idea of who the best team is. But it's the way it goes, man. It's just a matter of who's going to take advantage of it. Are the Sixers the type of team that could take advantage of it? You got a guy like Maxey who has been playing out of his mind since James Harden has come over.
Man.
And they're healthy relatively. Harden is interesting right now. I don't know if this is he has aged. I don't know if this is Doc Rivers saying, dude, you don't need to score 40 a night. He's a little more of a facilitator right now. But they look dangerous as shit. Sixers look really good. And when you got a guy on a court like Embiid, there's nobody in the NBA who matches up with him. Nobody. There's nobody, period. He will score 35, 40 a night, no matter what. They're dangerous. They're very dangerous. So we'll see what happens with that. But I agree with you 100%. The NBA playoffs are actually kind of fun to watch. It's kind of fun to watch. Total opposite of the regular season. The regular season is
nuts.
Brutal, dude. It's brutal.
The only thing I don't like, and I know it's all money, I know it's all, we don't need 3 days in between games, guys. This is unbelievable.
It's embarrassing.
Come on.
One is fine.
Boston and New York.
I know.
It's a 4-hour fucking bus ride. You need 3 days in between.
It's absurd.
It's
absurd. 1 day is plenty.
But that's me getting old and cranky, I think.
Yeah, what do we know?
Yeah, well.
You wanted to talk some baseball.
I don't want to, but I feel like I have to. It's the first
here we go
rant of the year.
It's official. Baseball season is here, and Scotty's not happy with the Yankees. Let me hear it.
We were 3 weeks in.
7-5, by the way. Not the worst.
No.
Not the best.
You can't go into Baltimore, who's a fucking high school team,
Oof.
lose 2 out of 3. Your lineup looks dead. This is the same team from last year. Okay.
Dude.
And Michael K is going on and on. They have a new shortstop. They have a new catcher. They have a new Michael. The direction of the team is the same. Let's wait for the 3-run homer. Let's not be exciting. Let's use every bullpen arm. Let's kill them but by Memorial Day.
Yeah.
It's the same process of how they're going about baseball. It's not the same team, dumbass. It's the same process. Joey Gallo is awful. He's awful. He's 4 for like 28.
Joey Gallo? It's
Joey
Joey Callo.
Callo.
Callo. Sorry, every time I hear that name, I got to do it.
Well done. 2 Utes.
I love that goddamn movie, man. Jesus.
This guy, and you heard he's going to run into one. He's a great. He walks. He's a great outfielder. I haven't seen shit out of nothing.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's a great guy. Love to have a beer with him. I don't want him on my baseball team. Goodbye.
Yeah.
In
fact, I'd rather have a beer with him than have him on my baseball team.
I'll buy.
Can we have a beer while we're all watching the game that he's not playing in? That'd
you
be
can
nice.
sit next to me in my seats tomorrow night. I'll buy him what beer you want. This everyday shuffling the lineup is bananas. And I think I mentioned this last year. When I would sit in my dad's den when I was a kid, it was the same lineup day in, day out. Jeter 2, yeah. O'Neal 3, Bernie 4, Posada 5, so on and so forth. It was, you know where you get to the ballpark, you know where you're going to hit. This sitting roulette they're doing is bananas to me. You can't get on a roll. You played sports. There's Alex Rodriguez, every chance he gets, he says, these analytics don't understand. They never play the game if they don't think hot is a thing. Look what North Carolina.
Because hot is not a thing. Hot is just a number. It's just an aggregate thrown in. That's all. And hot is just what changes the number to a better number.
North Carolina basketball, as Mike Dean knows more than anybody,
for sure,
they got hot and almost won the whole damn thing as an 8 seed. It's a thing.
Absolutely.
This is ridiculous to me. And then Boone's going, "Oh, it's keeping everybody healthy."
Who gives a shit if you're not winning?
Dude, it does exactly. Anybody can lose in the first round in that playing game.
I don't understand. So fitness and science is better than ever. Medical science is better than ever when it comes to treatment and everything like that. These guys are bigger and stronger and smarter than they've ever been. And suddenly, for the first time in history, these guys can't play an entire fucking season.
They can't play.
I don't get it. NBA players, there's too many goddamn games. And Major League Baseball players, they need rest. What? You don't even run 99% of the time in baseball. You don't even run. What are we talking about?
It's bad, Pete.
Is it too difficult to swing a bat? Is it too hard to throw? Are you running out of gas throwing the ball to second base from left field? What is this need a break thing? I don't get it. If you go 0 for 4, you didn't even reach first base. So what are you tired from?
It's bananas.
It makes no sense to me, dude.
I wish
if you had 162 NFL games, I'd fucking get it. You need a break. Okay. You know what's crazy about this is hockey players don't take days off. They play almost as many games, and it's a significantly more physical game. And they're moving way more than baseball players and basketball players. They don't take days off, like ever. In fact, they get their teeth knocked out by a puck in the second period, and they're back in the third period with false teeth. Like, what are we talking about? LeBron, in the most physical fit guy who spends $1 million a year on his body. This is his quote. I spend $1 million between food and blah, 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 blah. And you need days off? The fucking my landscaper doesn't need a day off. That son of a bitch is out there 95 heat every week. Doesn't matter. Boom. Got to cut that lawn, baby. You need a day off, pal? Yeah, don't get paid. Like, I don't get it.
Yep.
Come on. It's baseball. It's friggin' baseball.
The Yankees also have become scientists on ruining players now. Gleyber Torres, another one. When they got him 6 years ago in the Chapman deal, this guy's we came up the first year and a half. It was unbelievable.
Yes, this is a budding superstar.
Cameron Maben was doing the game this afternoon, and he noticed something. Glaber's like swinging out of his shoe. Like when you're
gotta be a home run.
When you're taught when you're 8 years old, squish the bug, the back leg, right back foot, stay steady. Yep. His back leg's flying out of there.
Level swing.
We've said this. I've said this to 100 buddies that want to listen to me with these fucking rants. He should be a foul line to foul line hitter. You have enough guys that hit the ball fucking 500 feet.
What do you mean he? They.
I know.
They all should.
I know.
Come on, what are we talking about?
I know.
This is what we were talking about when they had a rule. You know, they were discussing the rule of whether or not you can have a shift. Did they pass that? Are you allowed to shift?
This year, I think next year that's going to go into.
Dude, because someone they shouldn't be allowed to do that. Here's an idea: hit it the other way.
They're not.
You're a goddamn professional baseball player. You don't know how to hit the ball to the opposite field. What the hell? What are we talking about here, folks?
Mark Teixeira, every fucking radio show he's on. Oh, it ruined my career. Hey, Mark.
You weren't always like that.
You're a switch hitter, you dickhead. Figure it out anyway.
Oh, yeah, you can hit from both sides of the plate, but you don't know how to hit the opposite field.
It's.
You're so blessed by God that you can hit either way. Like, just put me
in
on
the
either side.
major leagues.
Dude, what are we talking about here?
Go
look at Mark Teixeira when he was playing for, was it the Rangers? Or was it California? Or was it Rangers, right? Dude, the guy hit the ball opposite field. I used to say this about Giambi all the time. He was a gap-to-gap hitter all the time. Why? Because that goddamn stadium was huge, and you're not going to hit bombs out of there.
Right.
A lot of them. It was gap-to-gap. Be a pro.
It's ridiculous, man.
Be a friggin' pro.
Bro, and
it's actually embarrassing that they needed to come up with a rule because you're so pathetic you can't hit the ball the other way. I get a 9-year-old to do that. I go, hey, Jimmy, where on the field are there no players? Over there. Hit it over there, and he does it. You make $30 million a year and you don't know how to hit it over there? Oh, my God. It's actually embarrassing that they came up with a rule.
I don't want to do this every week. And I'm sure they'll get hot and they'll go on a streak where they win 13 out of 14.
Of course they will, because that's analytics.
But listen, my brother I was talking last night. He goes, I can't watch it. I'm flipping around.
That's the problem. It's a bad product.
It is.
We've said this a million times. I'm going to say it again. In a sport that is not fast-paced, okay? In the NFL, you can see that analytics are having an effect on how much they throw the ball and whether or not they go for it on fourth down. But it's a fast-paced sport, and I can forget what happened in the first quarter by the end of the first quarter because there's already been a shitload that's happened since. Baseball is and even in the NBA, you can get past some of these analytics things because it's a pretty fast-paced sport. And somebody just 360 dunked, and somebody just hit another three, and somebody just blocked a shot into the third row. Baseball is slow. It's a grind. It's a tough watch regularly. And now you're going to take away from it the stuff that at least makes it interesting, like bunts and stolen bases and singles and hit and runs. And it's like timing and ballsiness. There's no risk involved. It's just like, you know what I mean? Stealing a base is a risk. Hit and run is a risk. It's all been eliminated. Bunting is it's all been eliminated, and now it's just swing for the fences, see what happens. And it's a bad product, and there's a reason that nobody shows up at the fucking games, dude. It's boring as shit. I wouldn't want to spend 3 hours there. It's just boring and expensive.
I'm going to my first game tomorrow.
Enjoy.
Thank you. My buddy Tyler, who was the avid listener of the show, he's bringing his pops. That's the NBA G League ref.
By the way, thanks, Tyler. And you're not one of the stupid people that I was talking about. Nobody is, not our listeners.
He's bringing his pops tomorrow. And his pops, his dad's one of the greatest people. And they're giving away like a light sweatshirt tomorrow. First 18,000 fans.
Nice.
And he's going, ask Scotty, what time should I get into the game? I go, well, listen, it's an April game. They're playing the Guardians. They stink. I go, dude, you could probably get in there like 6:30. You'll be fine. And he's going, you're nuts. You're not. There's nobody there. I go, dude, believe me, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
You're going to get, you could take 6 at the end of the day. There's going to be no one. They might not even have 18,000 fans there total.
Which is crazy. It's a Friday night.
It's going to be a beautiful day.
Oh, it's going to be good. The weather's going to be gorgeous.
Yeah.
Be in the 70s.
It's just it's sad. It really is sad.
It's unfortunate. And let's be honest, we're killing the Yankees, but it's because we're both Yankees fans. We're on the East Coast. It's not just the Yankees, it's the sport. The whole sport has gone very analytics. It's just not fun. It's not interesting. It's not a fun watch. It just is what it is. So I don't see it changing though.
I don't either.
I don't see it changing. It's going to take a bold GM to go in a different direction, but it's not happening today. And we're going to have to, put up with it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's either that or not watch it. So
that's it. By the way, just real quick, because we got to get going. Jordan Spieth won the RBC. Jordan Spieth has become a modern-day Seve Ballesteros. So for you young cats out there who have no fucking clue who Seve Ballesteros is, nobody won more European Tour events than Seve. He won 50 of them. Interestingly enough, third or fourth on the list is Tiger Woods with 41. Holy shit. Wow. An American was third on the European Tour, for Christ's sake. That's how amazing he is. But Seve Ballesteros would never be confused with like a great ball striker and just a pure, we talk about Scotty Scheffler and how he just hits bombs, hits them down the middle, sweet stroke, this and that. Seve was like, hit it into the woods, chip it out, chip on, one putt for a save for par. Like he was maybe the greatest scrambler in the history of golf. And that's kind of what Jordan Spieth has become, at least in the last couple years. He sprays the ball all over the place on the tee. But what happened this weekend at the RBC was that, frankly, a few of the top guys did not play particularly well on Sunday. And he scrambled his balls off on Sunday and did what Jordan Spieth does, which are he doesn't have like saves from bad spots. He makes shots from bad spots. And when Jordan Spieth is putting, there's nobody better because he'll make anything from a 5-footer to a 25-footer look like it's supposed to go in. And that's what happened. And he ends up taking the RBC Cup home with him. So a nice win for him. But I don't think that's a sustainable way of winning golf tournaments.
And that's why he goes a long time without doing it.
This is the problem now. Yeah. So he needs guys to come back to the pack. He needs to kind of play out of his mind for stretches. He's just not a consistent ball striker off the tee. And frankly, until he becomes a more consistent ball striker off the tee, this is how it's going to be. And it really bothers me. It really bothers me because I still believe he could be one of the best players on the planet. But
he almost screwed himself out of the whole goddamn tournament. Did you see what he did Saturday?
No. I don't know what you're talking about. I was watching, but I don't know what
the tap in on 18?
Oh, no. I didn't see it.
Goes to tap in on 18 and rushes it and ellipses out.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
So he could have won.
He never does that.
In regulation, that's why he was so mad at himself.
Yeah,
he goes, my wife never talked to me about golf. She actually talked to me about golf, about calming down.
What the hell are you doing?
Take a breather. Like,
yeah.
Almost cost him the whole damn tournament.
New baby will do that too. He's got a new little kid over there, so it's kind of cute. But it's just not a sustainable way of being like a top 5 player in the world. But he did win, and good for him. And we move on. 63 in the books, my friend.
63.
What you got?
Number 3. Super Bowl champion, 2-time All-Pro, 6-time Pro Bowl, Colts center, Jeff Saturday.
Beautiful. Great player. Pretty good announcer, by the way. He's on ESPN. He does a pretty good job.
He does a pretty good job. Number 2, 1963 MVP, 3-time All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowl, Colt, Niner, and Giants Hall of Fame quarterback Y.A. Tittle.
Classic.
Number 1, 2-time Super Bowl champ, 5-time All-Pro, 6-time Pro Bowl, 1970s All-Decade team, Raiders Hall of Fame guard, Gene Upshaw.
Oh, Gene Upshaw. He was the union president for a number of years as well. If I'm not mistaken. Good man. We've got some news of the week for you here, and this one goes out to all the global warming alarmists. This U.S. town just picked up 4 feet of snow in less than a week. The talk is that all the carbon that's being poured into the atmosphere, we're never going to see winters again. That has been proven wrong, especially this year. But this particular town of Minot, North Dakota, about 48,000 people live here. They had 4 feet of snow in about 3 days, setting a new record. And this is in April. The kind of snowfall that you would expect between January and February, not mid-April. So 4 feet, 4 feet of snow in Minot, North Dakota, setting a new record and telling all you global warming alarmists, enjoy these middle fingers. That's kind of what they were saying. So there you go. I'm not a science denier. Don't worry about it. For all of you who are like, I'm not listening to this guy anymore. He's a Trump supporter. He doesn't believe in global warming. You fart too much, and that's causing global warming too. I certainly do, and it's a problem. It's something that needs to be worked on and will no longer be discussed on the show. For Scott Bracey, I'm Pete Colasano. You've been listening to Bump and Run, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Later.
Peace. Did I just hit the wrong button? I hope I didn't.
Oh, boy.
Let's see if it stops. I think it stopped. Good. All right, my son has practice at 7.
I was going to say, you coaching or what's going on?
No coaching this year, considering the new situation. Maybe next year. I want to let things. I
just think about that.
Hard to make those kind of commitments. You know how I am. Like if I'm going to do it, I'm like balls to the wall. So
for sure, I get it.
I'll just take a year off. Maybe I'll get back to it next year. So I had some people come up to me and make some really nice comments, wishing that I was coaching, saying that I did a really good job the last couple of years. So that was nice. But take a year off, let things settle down, and we'll see what happens next year.
Not a bad idea.
This way, I just show up, show my face, be a dad. Don't be a coach. Fucking kid never listens to me anyway, so I don't know what the hell's the difference. It's so funny. I always say like he wants me to coach so bad, but then when I coach, he doesn't want to be coached by me. Like whoever's coaching with me, I always tell them like, get on his ass. Like you have my permission to go full bore, just tear into him, because he actually is very coachable. He takes coaching very, very well. He just doesn't take it well from me. Like I take him to like it's every other Wednesday we were going to this clinic, just a place that I don't know what else you would call it. Like it's a facility that they work on baseball skills and stuff like that.
It's a warehouse.
And it's a warehouse exactly. And he just takes coaching so well. He just, when the guys talk to him, he just sits there and listens. He doesn't complain. He doesn't say anything, doesn't talk back unless it's a legitimate question. But when I coach him, I get the eye rolls. I get the, Dad, Jesus, like all that kind of shit. I'm like, I don't want to fucking do it. I do it because I want to coach you. I don't actually want to coach, and you don't even want to be coached by me. So it's that kind of stuff. But it's kind of fun to be able to just sit and watch too. I just enjoy it.
No doubt. Yeah, nice little breather. That's probably a good idea.
Yeah. So, all right, brother.
All right, my man.
I'm going to go to that now, so this won't be up until later tonight, but I got nothing going on after practice, so it'll be done probably like by 10 o'clock.
Sounds good, pal.
All right, dude. Talk to you later.